Imagine this scenario. A company passes its annual security audit. All controls are documented, all policies are approved, all dashboards are green. Multi-factor authentication enabled, endpoint protection deployed, security monitoring operational. Everything looks secure, and yet 3 months later, the organization experiences a breach. The attacker didn't bypass the control, they simply moved around them because many of the controls in place were not designed to stop attackers, they were designed to prove security existed. This is what we call security theater. Control that make us feel protected without necessarily protecting us. Welcome to Signals and Shadows. I am Samik Roy, and today we are diving into a topic that quietly exists in almost every organization, from startups to global enterprises: security theater. The control that exists not because they stop attackers, but because they make security appear visible, measurable, and compliant. In modern cybersecurity, we often measure success through compliance reports, audit results, dashboard metrics, policy documentation. But attackers measure something very different. They measure how easily those controls can be bypassed. Today, we'll explore why security theater exists, how it happens, and why some of the controls we rely on most might not be protecting us the way we believe. Security theater doesn't happen because organizations don't care about security. In many cases, it happens because organizations care deeply about proving security. There are powerful incentives behind this. Executives want evidence of protection, board wants assurance, auditors want documentation, regulators want compliance, and security team often responds by building environment that are easy to measure, controls that are visible, controls that can be reported, controls that satisfy frameworks. But attackers don't attack frameworks, they attack systems. And systems behave very differently than checklists. When security becomes something we demonstrate instead of something we continuously test, theater begins to emerge. Security theater rarely announces itself. It hides behind the familiar practices. Take multi-factor authentication. Many organizations deploy MFA across key systems. But if legacy protocol remain enabled, or session token persist indefinitely, or authentication trust isn't re-evaluated, then MFA becomes a checkpoint, not a barrier. Or consider endpoint protection. Dashboards show that agents are installed across thousands of devices, but protection rules are rarely validated against real attacker techniques. So the system looks healthy even if it has never actually stopped a real intrusion. Or think about monitoring problems. Security teams ingest massive amount of telemetry, logs from identity systems, endpoints, application, cloud infrastructure, yet many alerts are never tested to confirm whether they detect real attacker behavior. The organization believes it is watching everything, but the signal that matters most may still pass unnoticed. Security theater often exists where measurement replaces validation. Compliance frameworks play an important role in security. They create baseline expectation, they standardize good practices, but compliance can also unintentionally encourage security theater because compliance focus on control presence, not necessarily control effectiveness. For example, a policy may require endpoint monitoring, but it rarely asks whether those alerts detect real attacker techniques. A framework may require across controls, but it may not verify how those controls behave under adversarial conditions. As a result, organizations can become highly compliant while still remaining vulnerable. Attackers understand this very well. They know which controls are designed for audits and which one actually interrupt their operations. One of the most dangerous aspects of security theater is false confidence. Dashboards create the appearance of control, Green indicators suggest protection, coverage metrics suggest visibility. But security dashboards often measure deployment, not effectiveness. They tell us how many agents are installed, how many logs are collected, how many policies are configured, but they rarely answer the most important question. Would this control actually stop an attacker today? When organizations trust dashboard without testing outcomes, they begin to believe their own narrative of safety. And that narrative can persist right up until the moment a breach reveals the gap. The goal isn't to eliminate controls, the goal is to validate them continuously. High maturity security teams focus less on whether control exists and more on whether those controls change attacker behavior. They ask questions like which detection have actually caught simulated attacks, which policies interrupt suspicious behavior automatically, which alert trigger real investigation. Instead of measuring deployment, they measure defense outcomes. Security stops being theater when controls are designed to interrupt attackers, not just satisfy frameworks. And that shift changes how organizations think about protection. Security doesn't fail because organizations lack tools. It often fails because organizations mistake visible control for effective defense. The difference between security theater and real security is simple. One is designed to demonstrate protection, the other one is designed to challenge attackers. And in a world where threat evolves constantly, the most important question isn't whether a control exists. It's whether the control that would still work when someone is actively trying to break it. If this episode resonated with you, share it with your security team or leadership group. And if you are exploring how modern security operations evolve from visibility to decision advantage, stay tuned for the next episode of Signals and Shadows. I'm Samik Roy, and I will see you next time.